USCHO.com. This is the USCHO Spotlight, a weekly podcast from U.S. College Hockey Online at USCHO.com, featuring conversations with college hockey coaches and players and journalists who cover the sport.
Welcome to USCHO Spotlight for March 5th, 2019. I'm Ed Trefzger alongside Jim Connelly, and this episode is sponsored by the NCAA Frozen Four, April 11th and 13th at KeyBank Center in Buffalo. Visit ncaa.com/Frozen4. One of the hottest teams in 2019 has been the Bentley Falcons, including a 12-game unbeaten streak in that, 10-0-2.
And we are joined now by the head coach of Bentley Hockey, and that's Ryan Soderquist. And Ryan, I look at your season, wasn't the best start. You get some good wins in the first half. I look at Boston College as one of them, but then since whatever January 1 did to this team, only 2 losses in the second half of the season, you have to kind of try to guide me as to what has happened in this season that has really turned things around for Bentley.
Yeah, the second half of the year obviously was really good to us. We played some pretty strong hockey, actually, I felt, in the first half of the year, and we just couldn't close out games. We coughed up 3 games early in the year that we had leads in the third period and just were having trouble closing out games. Kind of came back from Christmas break and regrouped. Really feel that our team defense overall has been, the shining point kind of in our second half of the year. Tightened things up defensively. I've had some real strong goaltending and have shown the ability to finish off games. That's helped us quite a bit in the second half.
I look at your schedule, I think from January 11th through February 14th, 9-0-1 streak, I think it was in that time. When things are going right for teams, obviously things are going right. How much did momentum play a role in the way your team was moving through that period?
Yeah, momentum, was obviously on our side at that point in time. And we had a tremendous amount of confidence going. And when you have confidence, I think you find ways to find, wins in one-goal games. And when you're lacking confidence, it's hard to win one-goal games. And through that stretch, we were a part of a lot of close games, and we found a way to win those. And, I believe our confidence was at an all-time high there.
I look at the points some guys are putting up right now, and Drew Callan, who has been a guy on my radar for a while, and then Luke Santerno, both of them 35 points right now. Callan with 10 goals, Santerno with 11 goals. Obviously a big part of your offense. Talk a little bit about what your offense is producing right now and the guys that are doing their best.
Our offense, actually starting in the second half of the year, we got some good depth scoring as well. So, that really helped us. Some of the close games, our third and fourth line chipped in with some pretty big goals at some key points that got us over the hurdle. So that was good to see. Also, during that stretch, we went 3 games without scoring a power play goal. And usually when you go 3 games without scoring a power play goal, those are three losses. And we found ways to win those games with some depth scoring. But, in addition to the depth scoring, obviously, Jonathan Davian, Luke Santerno, Drew Callan, and Tanner Jago, those guys there have done a tremendous job, being consistent every single night as 200-foot players and producing as well.
When I look at, obviously, the other end of it is obviously goaltending, and Aiden Polino, he has really carried this team in terms of the number of minutes played. You've seen him before this season. What were your expectations coming into this year, and what did you know that he could deliver to your team?
Yeah, he's played quite a bit as a freshman and sophomore. We were excited to have him come in this year as an upperclassman, as a junior. We knew that he was going to be a guy that was going to carry quite a bit of the load. Not quite as much as he actually did carry. Up until Saturday night of this week, he had carried 97% of our play. We had an ability to play Jake Bernansky on last Saturday. So Aiden ended up playing 93% of our minutes this year, which is amazing. But we knew we could lean on him quite a bit. He probably didn't get off to the best start in October and November. But obviously, he's a guy that came back from break, and his game has been phenomenal since returning from Christmas break.
We're talking with Ryan Soderquist, head coach at Bentley. Now you have a bye week to go directly into the quarterfinal round in Atlantic hockey. This is a first, I think, for Bentley, at least in a number of years. Getting that bye, what does that mean for you in things like preparation and getting some rest, maybe getting some injuries, even minor ones cleaned up? What does that mean for your team going into the quarterfinal round?
Yeah, it's always kind of funny going in with the bye. Sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's not. But we are actually feel it's pretty good for our program right now. We had two defensemen that have been out the last couple of weeks with injury that we will get back, and we had 3 guys that were playing with some pretty good bumps and bruises over the last 2 weeks. That will have an opportunity to get healed up. So in terms of getting healthy, I think the bye came at a really good time for us. We have to balance that with also staying sharp. It's going to be obviously a balance over the course of the next week and a half of getting rest, but at the same time staying sharp and keeping our game heading in the right direction.
Towards the end of last season, you moved into what is a real jewel, the new Bentley Arena. Now you've had a whole season in the new building. What has having such a wonderful facility meant to your program, and how has that changed even just normal everyday activities for your team?
Well, actually, the normal everyday activity, it has been the biggest change. The ability for our guys to come in early, whether it be for extra ice time, a chance to meet with a coach, to get extra training, strength and conditioning. So the ability to just be around the arena more has been great for our program and has helped change our culture quite a bit. Guys spend a lot more time and invest a lot more time in ice hockey in the program. So it's been a great culture change for us there. I definitely feel that our program is heading in a very good direction, and it's helped us obviously on the recruiting trails as well.
Well, I wanted to ask you also about recruiting. You certainly have a lot of other teams in Massachusetts to compete against when you look at players, and you do have some from New England, but it seems that your team has done and your coaching staff and yourself have done a terrific job in finding players all over the country, several from the Midwest and also Western and Eastern Canada. How do you go about recruiting all of those different areas, and what kind of challenges do you face recruiting maybe for a lesser-known program?
Well, obviously, our education is top-notch. We're one of the top 10 undergraduate business programs in the country. We're located, 10 minutes out of Boston, with now a brand new $45 million facility. So I think that we have a lot of things to offer, for a prospective student athlete. My 2 assistant coaches, Ben Murphy, has been with me for 10 years, and John Coleman in his first year do a great job of hitting the road. Those guys are endlessly on the road looking for players out in British Columbia, North American League, USHL. Pretty much every single weekend, those guys, one of them is on the road for 3, 4, 5 days. So a lot of credit for those 2 for being out on the road. But I obviously feel that Bentley has a tremendous amount to offer, and I think it's a great opportunity, for the right fit for a player to come in and get a lot of play time and, be part of a growing program.
Probably yourself, along with Mercyhurst, Rick Godkin, are in the best position to have an analysis of where the league has come from the MAAC to Atlantic hockey. I mean, he's been coaching almost that whole time. You were a player during the second year of the MAAC, and you were a head coach during the last year of the MAAC before Atlantic hockey. I know it would be a long thing to tackle, but if you could kind of capsulize the progress of the league from your days as a player right up through coaching, and where the league has come even in the last maybe 5 years.
Yeah, I think that the growth of our league from Atlantic hockey and then from back in the MAAC days has been phenomenal. And, a guy like Jim, you've been there since the start as well. You've had an opportunity to see the league grow from the grassroots, from the beginning of the MAAC days, where teams were just trying to get schedules together. It was, it's hard to even, fulfill a schedule and get teams to play you. every single one of our non-conference games were on the road for pretty much about 10, 12 years before we could even get home games with non-conference leagues. The facilities growth to the scholarship growth, going from 10 scholarships to 12 to 14 to 16 to now 18 in this next upcoming year. The facilities that have been built, RIT's new facility, Bentley's new facility, AIC Sacred Heart moving into pro buildings. It's been an amazing growth. Every single year, it just continues to grow. And like you said, the last 4 or 5 years has really, I think, took some pretty big hurdles. And I'm pretty excited to be part of Atlantic hockey and excited for the future.
You mentioned non-conference games and difficulty early on. Now it seems the bigger challenge is getting some home non-conference games, and you're starting to get some of those. How about over the next 3 or 4 seasons? How is the outlook on getting some non-league games into Bentley Arena?
Very good. I mean, obviously, we've had the ability. We had Harvard, Lowell, Merrimack, and Dartmouth all in our building this year for non-conference games out of the 6. And obviously in the future as well, we have BC is going to be coming back to our building, and we have a home-and-home series coming up in the next 2 years with Ohio State. So, we're starting to get some pretty big names into the building, and it's a great place to play. And now that a couple teams have played there, I think that it will lead to more excitement of teams wanting to come to play at Bentley.
More with Bentley's Ryan Soderquist coming up in just a moment. First, this word from the NCAA Frozen Four, April 11th and 13th at KeyBank Center in Buffalo.
Speed and precision, unrelenting power. This trophy is not given, it must be earned. The 2019 NCAA Frozen Four, April 11th and 13th at KeyBank Center in Buffalo.
With a shot. Saved by Morris. Takes the shot.
Visit ncaa.com/Frozen4 and get your tickets today.
This is USCHO Spotlight, and we are talking with Bentley coach Ryan Soderquist. And Ryan, you mentioned a little bit about the original days of the MAAC and transitioning to Atlantic hockey. But you can go back as a player, and I remember covering my first ever game I covered, regular season game, was Bentley versus Mercyhurst. You might remember that it had about 180 minutes worth of penalties. But most importantly, it was the start for both of those teams into Division I hockey. You were part of that. Then you became an assistant head coach at Bentley. Could you ever imagine the league and maybe this team coming as far as it did in the amount of time it has, really about 20 years?
You know what? At that time, it is amazing to see where it is now. At that time, there was a pretty big gap in terms of college hockey from when the MAAC started to the other leagues. And then, it probably wasn't until 4 or 5 years into the MAAC that you could actually really see, geez, this league could be something. This league could make it. This league could be a major player in Division I ice hockey. So to say right in the first year or two, we'd know where fetched. But certainly after, maybe 4 or 5 years into the situation, we started realizing where we could go. And teams at the time, like Quinnipiac, that was in the league, were starting to do some damage in college hockey and started seeing kind of the light at the end of the tunnel. It's come a long way, certainly, Jim, since the old MAAC days. It's an exciting brand of hockey in our league. We know we can play with any teams in the country, and like I said, it's exciting to be part of.
When you personally go to the other end of that spectrum and you look at this season, it's been a very good season, but as much success as you had in your league, I'm going to guess that maybe that November victory against Boston College at Conti Forum at Kelly Rink must stand out as a pretty nice highlight for your program. Not too far down the road, but always thought of as nowhere near in the same league as Boston College. For Bentley to win that game, that had to have some pleasing factor as well.
It absolutely did. I mean, the history behind and the tradition behind BC's program is amazing. So to have the ability to take Bentley down the street and play BC, where most of our alumni have always looked at BC or BU being the premier programs in the area. So to head on the road and play them and beat them in their own building was an amazing experience. For me, obviously, as well as growing up as a local guy, and for our program. So it was a great time period that gave our guys a lot of confidence in knowing that we can play with anybody in any building and environment.
You are now in a situation, we're talking with Bentley head coach Ryan Soderquist, where you're now in a situation where you're going to have to wait, and it has not been something that Bentley has had to do. You've jumped into the first round of the playoffs, but you'll wait. You'll get into a quarterfinal series. You're going to be at home in Bentley Arena, which I'm sure feels great. How do you approach kind of the next week and a half, 2 weeks? Do you have to simulate games? Do you have to just try to give some guys some time to heal? How do you figure out what to do as a coach in terms of what these practices, what these days look like in the next 10, 11 days ahead?
Right. I think the first thing, obviously, right when we locked up the home playoff spot, I have some good mentors out there, some good friends across the country that I reached out to pretty quickly and talked about how they scheduled their bye weeks and what they've learned from that. And kind of the first thing was to evaluate our individual situation and our health and where we were. And, we did have some bumps and bruises, so we wanted to make sure over the first 4 or 5 days that we got healthy first and foremost, be healthy heading into the break. So, kind of toned our physicality down in practice today and over the next couple of days. And, give the guys a couple extra days on the weekend to get some rest and have a normal week of practice next week and just get right back into our groove. So I felt, that we have a good game plan heading in and we should be sharp heading into playoffs.
I know that home ice makes every coach get some decent expectations in their head. And I know you don't want to expect too much, but have you sort of picture in your head what winning an Atlantic Hockey Championship could be like, what it would mean to this school to play on an NCAA stage, or is that just getting way too far ahead of things right now?
Yeah, obviously we're going to keep our focus on playing, next Friday and who that opponent is. But certainly preseason, when we talked as a team, as a program, we talked about taking the next stride, and obviously taking the next stride is an opportunity to win a championship and go to the NCAA tournament. So it's things that are definitely that we've talked about as a program, setting as a goal. But right now, in terms of the thick of things, we're going to obviously pay attention to our 1 day at a time of practice and where our next opponent is.
Well, it certainly has been an exciting season for you. It's been an exciting one for myself and Ed to watch from far away. We follow your program closely. Both of us seem to have some ties back to your early days. And Ryan, we congratulate you where you've gotten to and hope you go a long ways. Best of luck the rest of the way.
Well, Jim and Ed, I appreciate it, and hopefully we're talking a few weeks from now.
Jim, it's fun talking to people who've been around a long time in the course of a league, and he's still a young man, Ryan Soderquist, but he has been there from the beginning of the MAAC to where Atlantic Hockey is now. Certainly things like the new building, more scholarships, all these things are helping Atlantic Hockey slowly but surely get into the mix of the 6 leagues in Division I hockey.
Yeah, I feel that that's exactly the case, Ed. And, I remember the early days of Bentley, and there was some rough times, and Jim McAdam was a real champion for that program. And that was Ryan's head coach when he was there. And I can remember him, trying to play some teams. I remember a series against Wayne State at Boston College where they, moved the games to Boston College just to play Wayne State on a bigger stage. And to Jim, that felt like a big deal in some very, obvious ways. That was a team that came from Detroit that had a lot of money behind it. The irony now is that the fact that Bentley has survived, Wayne State has folded. Bentley has a new coach in Ryan Soderquist, who came in, I believe, the next year. And then you look at what they've done in terms of building their program. It's a commitment to hockey that really builds a program. And Bentley has done everything to commit. And their arena is one of the top facilities, one of the top small facilities in the United States in terms of college hockey. They are going to be able to recruit very well into that. And you can already see it paying off. I mean, the fact that this team was able to put some stuff together, I'm sure they were able to pull some freshmen, even some sophomore in with the promise of a very new building. They did a good job of recruiting into this stage, and they've now put together a team that is very competitive in Atlantic hockey.
If the top seeds win in Atlantic hockey, you would see American International and Bentley facing off for the league championship, something probably unexpected even a couple of seasons ago.
I mean, kind of in my eyes, I look at that as kind of a dream scenario, because when I go back to the days of covering the MAAC, those were two of the teams that were down at the bottom, and they've kind of been, I don't want to say bottom feeders for a long time. I know Bentley, somewhere around 2006, they made it to a title game. AIC, they really haven't done a lot. You know, I can remember just getting to out of a play-in series was big for them. So for those two teams to be able to get into an Atlantic Hockey Championship game, obviously they're the number 1 and number 2 seeds. You feel like it should go that way if everything kind of plays its course, but we all know Atlantic Hockey doesn't play its course often. But anyways, you know, those two teams being able to get into that position, it would mean a lot, I can tell you, for Massachusetts college hockey, because people think of Boston College, Boston University, Northeastern, Harvard. You know, maybe UMass Lowell a little bit, maybe Merrimack, but nobody, or even Holy Cross, nobody thinks of AIC and Bentley. And for those two teams to be there fighting out for the right to go to the NCAA tournament, that would be special, not just for Atlantic hockey, but for also Massachusetts college hockey. And
just a little trivia, it was indeed 2006 where Bentley lost to the eventual Atlantic Hockey Association champion Holy Cross, which went on to upset Minnesota. But that also spawned what was known as the Bentley Rule. At the time, if you won your league championship, you became a team under consideration under the old pairwise. And that would have meant, had Bentley won, Holy Cross and Bentley both would have been in the tournament. Just a little bit of pairwise and college hockey trivia.
I remember that very well. I remember sitting at the hotel the night before the championship game, figuring that out, and it would have put a team in. And, you know, it wouldn't have done too much to Bentley. Obviously, they would have been in, but it would have put a team into the tournament that would have been, I believe it would have been Holy Cross, would have been pushed into the tournament because they had lost to a team under consideration, but they had also beaten that team under consideration many times that season. That would have pushed them into the tournament. It would have been that weird multiplier for Atlantic hockey at the time, and that changed the way the NCAA and the NCAA hockey body approached things.
Yeah, it would have been 4 wins against a team under consideration. Well, that'll do it for USCHO Spotlight for this week. For Jim Connelly, I'm Ed Trefzger, and we'll catch you next time.
This has been the USCHO Spotlight, a production of US College Hockey Online. Visit uscho.com/podcasts to listen or subscribe.